Will you please give a warm welcome? Our first presenter is Kylie Shilling.
Thank you. So I'll share this as a new format for me, and I'm not super good with timing, so hopefully I won't be like talking like this by the end, trying to get through my 20 seconds. I guess we want to go ahead and get started. I'm Kylie Shilling from the Violence Prevention Coalition, and the Violence Prevention Coalition was founded 25 years ago out of the LA County Department of Public Health, and it's a coalition that includes about 160 organizations across Los Angeles, and that includes public agencies, community-based, faith-based organizations, all of whom believe that violence is better addressed as an issue of public health rather than an issue of criminal justice. So when we say this, what does this mean? I think it really boils down to two simple points. The first is when we talk about violence, we're usually talking about how do we respond to violence once it's happened. And what we're asking is instead to look at what causes violence. So when we look at that, we're looking at an individual, but an individual who's connected to a family, who's connected to their larger communities, sometimes to organizations, and then to communities, and then also the policies that impact them. So they're not operating in a vacuum, we're looking at a population level. We're also saying violence is like a disease. If we look at this, these are the ways that we define a disease, that it moves over time, that's spread geographically. So can we track violence like this? Is there data? Yeah, there is. So convenient. So this is a map of how cholera was spread in Bangladesh. This is a map of homicides in Chicago. And we're seeing a really similar clustering pattern. Some really cool research that's happened recently out of Yale University looked at social networks. And can violence be tracked across social networks? And this is the data that they found. And they were looking at gangs and the transmission person to person. So this is like who are you friends with? Does that impact how much? What neighborhoods do you live in? Does that impact your risk for violence? And they found absolutely it spreads like a disease. So there's a lot of data to value this. So when we look at violence as a disease, if you think of malaria, you don't just try to quarantine your way out of it, right? That would be not very effective. You use sort of all pieces of the puzzle. You invest in prevention, in vaccines, in mosquito nets to interrupt the transmission of the disease. So that's what we say when we want to look at violence. What are the ways we can invest in preventing and intervention? And one of the main things that we do in public health also is we talk about changing cultural norms. The anti-smoking campaign, one of the most successful public health campaigns in recent history, used a lot of norms changing. It wasn't cool anymore to smoke. It's actually deadly. Gun violence is another one where we're looking at how can we change the narrative so that we stop seeing guns as this thing that is there to defend us, but actually as something that puts us at a huge amount of risk. And there's some fun data in there. If you have a gun in the house, you're 22 times more likely to be a victim of gun violence than to actually use it in self-defense. So these are some of the health impacts of violence. This is a lot of research that we're finding too, which is that there's what trauma, I'm sure a lot of folks are learning about trauma-informed approaches and community trauma. And so this is where you are in communities with high violence. That's happening. Wow, it's going fast. Okay, so how are we spending our money? We're actually not spending a lot of it on prevention. This is $426,000 is the cost of one visit to a hospital versus $8,000 that we spend in school, which I think is a pretty good violence prevention strategy. So this means actually we have to change how we're investing our money. So one of the things that we've been doing at the VPC is convening arts organizations, because we believe this is a pretty effective strategy. To change norms. And we piloted a program this summer in the detention camps, in the juvenile detention camps across LA County, where we collaborated with all the member organizations to provide arts programs for young people. And we found it had a pretty big impact, actually, that engaging in these programs had an impact on the social and emotional health of these young people. They were better able to express their thoughts and feelings. It was not just about the education piece, but also about how they were able to see themselves. This is an amazing picture from one of the murals they did this summer, where the kids actually designed and painted and painted it themselves. And you can see it really brought them together, and it changed, that experience of doing the art, which I think there was some conversation about earlier today, that it was actually experiential. Helped them see themselves not as criminals, but as people who could do things, who could create things, and that in turn made them feel much more hopeful about their future and what they could do. And that's where we're saying arts was really transformative for some of the hardest things to change, which is how kids are seeing themselves. So this is another mural that we did at one of the other campsites. And one of the things that was so provocative, an artist who came and talked to this network said that arts helps you see me as human. And so the idea is that it's not just about changing how the kids see themselves, but also how the probation staff see them. So why do we talk about this? Because kids learn. They copy what they do. One of the things we say in public health is violence is a learned behavior. So if kids are experiencing violence, if they're seeing violence, they're going to mimic it. And if they're seeing alternatives, they'll mimic alternatives. So they're going to copy what they see. So how can we use arts to help create a different narrative? How can we have that change the social norms? Because as we've said before, people don't exist in a vacuum. The kids are not separate from what's happening to their parents and the systems that are impacting them. So a quick recap. Seeing violence as a public health issue, again, really impacting on community health. There's a focus on prevention, that we're looking at a population, not just at an individual level, that we are tracking the data to see, is this really working? And it's also collaborative. This isn't something, again, where you just do one piece of the puzzle, you bring all approaches. So the impact of arts is that it helps us tell a different story. Of changing our cultural norms is really a key part of it. That's where the arts help us tell a different story about ourselves as we're doing it, that we're creators, and it tells a different story about the communities, that these are communities that can be healthy and that can contribute back. So with that, I am going to bring on our next presenter, who's going to give a very concrete example of how we can really transform communities into healthy communities. So I'm going to bring up Ron Finley, who's an art activist, an artivist, provocateur, a gangster gardener, a culture shifter, a cultivator, and the head troublemaker at the Ron Finley Project.
Good afternoon. Art is everything, and everything is art. Everything. Let me tell you guys a story. Okay, this is my garden on the street. You know, when I planted this garden on my parkway, I had no idea that such a simple act would change what has come of it today. You know, we need healthy living environments to affect healthy behaviors. It's real simple, good in, good out. My garden has transformed my community, and with that, the people in my community. People stop by just to see the garden because it's amazing to them. Of course, when people hear the word garden, the first thing they think of is food. I don't. First thing I think of, art and opportunity. To hell with hope, okay? I don't even use hope because you can't do nothing with hope but hope. The garden has so many lessons in it that start from how you take care of something, how you nurture something, what the soil does for us, everything is in it. My belief is the school should be in the garden, not the garden at the school, because all the lessons are already in the garden. This is just to show people that the garden, that we need to look at things new and different, like tilt your head slightly and things, close your eye 43 degrees and look at things in a different angle, from a different view, to get a different perspective, rather than the one that you were designed to look at. Look at the garden, looking at life through the lens of the garden changes your whole life. I mean, the beauty that you see, the Fibonacci sequence that are in these flowers, and how things grow, and It's just so much in the garden that people don't realize. Because the garden is art. This is in New York. This is Adam Perkle's garden. To me, no one's a better artist than Mother Nature. So what we need to do is replicate what Mother Nature does in art and in our life. She's been at this longer than we have. What started out has me wanting to just beautify my surroundings morphed into a worldwide cause that I have gardens named after me in Bristol, England, and people have set up gardens, you know, basically all over the world in schools, and people put handicap gardens in. What happened? We ended up changing the law in LA where you can plant food on the parkways here in LA, so y'all can thank me later. You know, I didn't see it as that big to me. Now I just want them to let people know, and in fact, show people how to do it. That's the next step for me. You know, that was just one of the victories. The other victory is the fact that I get to travel literally around the world, from Qatar to Oman to Greece to speak at the University of Sheffield, UK, and spread this knowledge, because it's just not here in the United States. This food prison situation is all over the world. Teaching people to see what most people can't see. Like this is in, I was in Milan at the World Expo. We did a manifesto for food that went to the EU, and then I was going to the UN. I came out of the subway and I saw this picture, and I'm a fashion designer, and this just took me because this is Milan, and what it represented, it was a needle and thread, you know, and a lot of people didn't see that. Putting beauty in a space where there is no beauty, to me, is a game changer. This is my swimming pool on my property. This weekend we showed a movie, a documentary we did called Can You Dig This? 150 people showed up. Do you know that what this does to a community when you do this? This is a function, we call it the function, that we did at the Vermont Square Library, where we had all kinds of art from people showing people how to make mosaics, to weaving, to hula hooping, bubbles, and storytelling. It changed the community. You're changing the composition of the soil, which people are the soil of the community, and that's what we have to. What I do is not just it's not about gardening. It's about people first and foremost. That's what we have to change. Gardening is just a catalyst to change it. We're demolishing a system that has been created for you and not by you. Real simple, change your food, change your life. Okay, these systems are by design in communities all across the United States. It's just not happenstance that we can find drugs in drugstores faster than we can find an organic apple. People ask me about how much food can you grow in a space like this. I'm like, I really don't give a shit, because it's not about the food. It's about people again. It's about changing people's life and their experience, and letting them know that they have the power to change their life. To me, growing food is a byproduct of what I do. Art is in everything. I use the soil as a canvas. I use everything. There's no trash. We teach people how to use pallets to make furniture out of them. We compost. Money does grow on trees. That's some shit we've been taught all our life, that money doesn't. It does. Every part of the tree is worth money. That's what I'm doing to change my neighborhood, and what I'm doing. What are you doing to change your neighborhood? I'm one person. Growing your own food, that's gangster. Okay? Being educated, that's gangster. The arts, to me, is gangster. You can change people's lives through art. You can change their mind through art. You know, you can let them know that they have a purpose through art, and that's why it's so important to me. Real G's grow food. They don't rob people, they don't burglarize, they don't sell drugs. Real G's change the community. I'm a real G. Thanks.
Ping Ho, Founding Director of UCLA Arts and Healing. Okay, you can go with the first slide. At UCLA Arts and Healing, we teach people how to amplify the innate social emotional benefits of the arts by integrating them with mental health practices. We live in the land between the arts and therapy, where socially and emotionally supportive arts experiences are used to help prevent the need for therapy. Creative expression is a window to the soul. We use mental health-informed language and principles to minimize any possible retriggering of trauma and address the inevitable stuff that comes up. We facilitate meaningful dialogue and insight through reflection on what emerges in the process instead of focusing on product or performance. Within the space of an hour, a room full of strangers can become each other's closest confidants. How many of you have ever said or heard anyone say, "I can't sing, draw, dance, act, or write"? How many of you know people who do it anyway because they love it and they're not necessarily very good at it? We encourage self-expression and participation in the arts by removing the fear of making mistakes, because there is no wrong way to express yourself creatively. Without expectations of perfection or mastery, we can reduce self-judgment and anxiety to support learning, creativity, and continued participation. The arts can uniquely enhance positive emotions and not just reduce negative ones. They allow difficult issues to be brought up in a way that feels organic and safe. When we look at some of the best designed studies of the arts and healing context, we see a consistent biological evidence of stress reduction without side effects or the stigma of therapy. Due to the overwhelming needs of under-resourced communities, we not only create scripted curriculum materials ready for community use, but also we teach people how to develop and deliver their own effective curricula through our Social Emotional Arts Certificate program. This experiential program features creative approaches to traumatic responses and self-care, verbal and nonverbal communication, group management, special needs, personal presentation skills, and evaluating program outcomes. It also offers best social emotional practices in 6 different art forms because of their symbiotic benefits. Here's a model of what this work looks like. We have a scalable and sustainable program called Beat the Odds, Social and Emotional Skill Building, delivered in a framework of drumming. This manual and DVD are scripted to enable delivery with or without training. Beat the Odds integrates activities from group drumming and group counseling to build core social emotional strengths, such as focus and listening, team building, positive risk-taking, self-esteem, awareness of others, leadership, expressing feelings, managing anger, managing stress, empathy, and gratitude. Beat the Odds is an 8-session trauma-informed program delivered weekly for 40 to 45 minutes. The program serves a whole classroom at a time and is sustainably designed for delivery by school personnel or individuals without music experience. Beat the Odds includes activities such as positive affirmations put to rhythm, emotional coping strategies like breathing and visualization, and rhythmic activities serving as a metaphor for life, followed by reflection and discussion, for example, on empathy. The program includes lessons and inquiry about feelings and student leadership opportunities. In our original study, we put the program to the test under real-world conditions. A school counselor with no previous music experience delivered the program after lunch, a difficult time to teach, to whole classrooms of a mixed population of students in spring semester of 5th grade. The outcome exceeded our wildest expectations. Compared to the control group, we found statistically significant improvements in 11 out of 24 possible scales of problem behavior, including those related to inattention, withdrawn depression, post-traumatic stress, anxiety, attention deficit hyperactivity, oppositional defiance, and sluggish cognitive tempo. We've also trained 7 special education teachers to deliver Beat the Odds. Our preliminary, as yet unpublished findings are that the program facilitated statistically significant improvements in all 5 areas evaluated: emotional symptoms, conduct problems, hyperactivity, inattention, peer relationship problems, and prosocial behavior. Moreover, improvements were still significant 2 months later, especially in these 3 categories that light up. Teachers in general report that Beat the Odds increases student participation in the classroom and in music classes. The majority of special ed teachers said that their students were disengaged in music classes until they started Beat the Odds. The special ed teachers also said that their students learned to regulate their emotions through the coping skills that they learned, such as guided visualization to create a comfort place, or walking away to get some space and breathe. All of them reported that attendance and hard work were incentivized on drumming days. In one class, where mainstream students participated in Beat the Odds, the teacher reported that new relationships were formed in different social circles across the playground. Some teachers integrated daily rhythm into the classroom to reduce the need for raising their voice and to create a more positive and playful learning environment. Middle school students that we have surveyed have reported that the program makes them feel happy and relaxed, enables them to get their mind off of painful experiences, and makes them better friends with their classmates. The program offers an opportunity for embodied social-emotional learning that is enduring. For example, one school counselor intentionally brought together students that did not ordinarily get along with one another. When she incorporated the use of a single small frame drum into her groups, the students enjoyed sharing while they were drumming and stopped fighting with each other because, quote unquote, you don't beat up a member of your group. On our website, you can find out about professional training, programs for personal benefit, literature, organizations, conferences, listservs, practitioners, self-guided activities, and videos. And you can sign up to receive our monthly e-newsletter. I'll leave you with 2 quotes that say it all. In the world of art, one can get past the usual confinements, and it's so healing to be with others and communicate below the surface of social superficiality. Thank you.